Thank you so much for joining us, as always. So, as mentioned, every Monday at 10:30 a.m. UK time, we give up our time to help and also heal and provide you a topic of the week. So how do we absorb other people's emotions? We've had clients that have absorbed emotions through just watching the TV or being on Zoom, because Zoom is a thing at the moment, isn't it? Yeah. So do you feel sensitive to other people's emotions, feelings, or pain? Do you feel that you have an urge or wanting to help people at the detriment of your own emotions? Do you feel like sometimes that you just walked into a fog of emotions? You was feeling okay, then all of a sudden, boom, you've just had this really horrible negative emotions.
It's awful when that happens.
Do you feel exhausted sometimes after when you've been speaking to somebody over the phone, or exhausted when you've gone to the supermarket, or exhausted when you've been somewhere where there are other people? Have you ever come across this word empath? So we're very humbled to serve you today. As mentioned, we are here every Monday live on Facebook at 10:30, and happy 1st of February as well.
Oh, yes, February already.
So for those who don't already know me, my name is Victoria. I'm a qualified emotional code, body code practitioner or healer through Dr. Brad Nelson. And this is...
Hello, I'm Madeleine. I'm a Reiki Master-Teacher, crystal therapist teacher, meditation and mindfulness teacher, all practitioners as well. I've been energy healing probably 40 years. Oh, that's an awful thing to admit. And various other modalities as well.
So as we always say, we call Madeleine the Oracle because she has such a vast knowledge of information. The problem is, I think, is with you, Madeleine, is you don't actually know what you know, because you know that much stuff until you ask Madeleine a question. She forgets what she does know because she knows so much. So what to expect from today? So last week we talked about
inherited emotions.
Inherited trapped emotions. We talked about that. And next week, we're going to talk about heart wall. Yeah. So how do you get a heart wall? What is a heart wall all about? So we're going to talk about that next week. And every week, Madeleine always talks about what is the science that has proven the topic we talk about, because you love to talk about the science, don't you, Madeleine? We always, every week, have 2 volunteers. So the 2 volunteers, all they say is they let me know what is their issue. On a scale of 1 to 10, how bad is that issue? So 10 out of 10 is quite severe, and 1 isn't so bad, like a thermometer. So if you'd like to volunteer, it's free of charge to see how we can reduce or eliminate any issues you may have. All you do is comment below and put me, or what you can do is you can email me. You can email me on email me at members. So that's members@gentleharmonies.co.uk, and just email me. Everything we talk about on the emails, it's always private and confidential, isn't it, Madeleine? Okay, so what we're also going to do on this show, I'm going to show you how to put a shield up to protect you from absorbing emotion. So we're going to do that later.
That'll be good.
So a quick summary of what we spoke about last week, which was episode 2. So if you missed that, just go back to episode 2. All this will be recorded and we put it up and load it up onto our YouTube channel. So last week we spoke about Jessica. So we had 2 volunteers last week, and Jessica was the first one that we went through. And Jessica's quite young. Her anxiety levels was an 8 out of 10. And by the time we released some emotions, that anxiety dropped down to a 1 out of 10. Madeleine explained last week also about the science, the experiments. There's so many experiments and proof now that inherited trapped emotions can be passed down. So to give you an example, so if you have on your genealogy line, your grandparents or your grandmothers that had a traumatic experience and their emotion they had was PTSD or fear, that will or can be passed down to you, which then becomes dormant emotion within your body. So then when you experience a trauma or an event, not only you're dealing with your own emotions of that event, but that dormant emotion of your ancestors will also come to fruition as well. So you're having a double whammy. You're dealing with your own emotions and you're dealing with your inherited emotions. So that's why sometimes it can be harder or quite intense or deep-rooted to get over an event compared to somebody else's whose ancestors didn't have these inherited trapped emotions. So that's what inherited trapped emotions are. We mentioned last week, have a look at your family. What about your parents, your brothers, your sisters, your aunts, your cousins, your grandparents? Is there a pattern of emotions? Have you noticed a pattern of behavior? Have you noticed a pattern of language? Is there always an event that always tends to come up? Like, for example, loss of money or a bad relationship, because that could be because that's a pattern that's inherent to trapped emotions. Sometimes just knowing about it will really help, because then you can deal with it. Then we had another demonstration with Alison. Her was 10 out of 10 around weight issues, and her weight issues were inherited.
Yeah.
Because if you feel like you've had that issue most of your life, guess what? It's probably inherited. So after the show, we contacted Alison and gave her a free session, because what can happen is the younger you are and the most recent that event that you want to deal with has happened, the quicker we can release that emotion. The longer you've had that emotion, or the older you become, the harder it is to release those emotions as well. Madeleine, you spoke about last week about, our blueprint is our DNA, generic. You spoke about
genetics
and also
epigenetics.
Okay. So emotions, what are they? As I mentioned every week, what we do is we pick up emotions. We pick up our emotions. They get put on us throughout our time. We have these emotions that happen. All we do is we experience these emotions. That's all we do. We experience these emotions, but we don't tend to feel the emotions. As I keep mentioning, 90% of our mental issues or our physical pain, so mental pain or physical pain, start with our thoughts. So if I think about that for a second, so if your physical or emotional pain start with thought, why don't we think about the thoughts that we have? Where do these thoughts come from? Why have I got this thought? When did it start? How is this thought making me feel? Because emotions are just the thoughts of the seed to our well-being. That's what emotions are. We have our clients, as I mentioned, we've done over 200 clients. So what happens is, we just tend to accept these emotions, these negative emotions that we have. We sometimes feel that's just part of our personality. If you have a jealous streak to you, you just think, well, do you know what? I'm just jealous. That's just part of my personality. You either like it or you lump it. Or we might get angry. Well, I'm just an angry person. Really? Is that your identity? When did you decide that was part of your identity? Or is it emotions that need to be released? Sometimes people feel like they deserve to be in pain, or they deserve to have these negative emotions. I always compare emotions like clouds. So if you have a dark, rainy, grey cloud that's hovering over your head all the time, that can make you feel quite lethargic, can make you feel tired, can make you feel heavy. And if you start looking at people's body language, how they are when they have this dark cloud over them, compared to somebody that has a light cloud, a sunny cloud. And the only difference between the dark cloud and the sunny cloud are thoughts. We mentioned low vibrational thoughts, which are your dark clouds, and your high vibrational thoughts, which are your sunny clouds. So these are just words. That's all it is. They're just letters that we say. However, all the letters that we say and use come with their own vibration. I don't think you can see these words are on there. So what Madeleine has is she has fear, worry, and sadness. So absorbed emotions. So these are what say that's what Madeleine's feeling. And if I don't protect myself, all of a sudden I'm going to take that sadness away from her. I'm going to take that fear away from her. And I'm also going to take away that worry. And guess what? She's feeling great, but I'm not feeling so great. Okay, what's the science behind absorbed emotions, Madeleine?
Oh, wow, so much. Well, psychology is one of the big ones, of course, because it's the science of the mind and so on. And there was a Dr. Michael Bannister who did a lot of research into people feeling others' emotions and why that happens and how it happens. And he found that when you're sensitive emotionally, there are about 2% of the population are very extremely sensitive to emotions, and they're what we call empaths. You may have heard that word. This is quite serious, not a very nice thing to have, because you can end up not even leaving your own home. And yet we are all sensitive, most of us. Vast majority of people are very sensitive, and we probably don't even know it. I can remember quite often when I used to travel on trains and so forth, public transport, get on feeling really good, sitting next to somebody, they'd get off and I suddenly got a headache. I think, where did that go? And they getting off going, hi, I'm feeling really good. It can happen so easily. And the science behind that is that the heart matters people studied for many, many years, and they find that we know now that the brain emits probably less electromagnetic energy than the heart. They talk to one another. So there's that electromagnetic field which holds people's thoughts, it holds their emotions, and that's constantly going. So when you're near someone who has a similar vibration, you can pick up on that, on their emotions and thoughts. There's also what you call emotional contagion, which...
That sounds like a mouthful.
I suppose it's emotional contagion. I think it's a wonderful thing. Not a wonderful thing, but for example, mums amongst you who've had babies in maternity wards will probably be aware you can have a baby suddenly start to cry, and in the end the whole lot of them are all screaming, and that's this emotional signal that's going out to the whole ward, as it were, and that can happen not just with babies, it can happen with everybody. Going back to quantum field, I did like my quantum field. Everything lives in a quantum field of energy. It is timeless. There's no time, there's no space, which is a bit strange, I know, to try and fathom out. But everything within that field of energy sends out a signal, and it's like sending out and emitting information. And if you have that similar frequency, you can pick that up, and you can pick that up. You can pick it up anywhere. I mean, you can go, again, what they call emotional entanglement is another one for you. It's a bit like entanglement. Yeah, it's exactly the same. You can go into a supermarket and you can just be walking past somebody or standing next to somebody and you can pick it up.
You know, if you're hypersensitive or if you already have emotions, that's how you can absorb people's emotions, especially if you're a healer. You know, a lot of people who are healers forget to put a protection and they end up picking up their emotions. Also, what's that vibration? How are you feeling in yourself? If you're feeling quite low, or let's say worry or fear or overwhelmed or anxious, what's going to happen is your subconscious mind is like a radar. Beep, 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 beep. It's going to pick up everybody else that's feeling the same way as you. Absolutely. And if you have no protection, it's going to grab their emotions and you're going to take it, especially if you're hypersensitive. So how can we stop absorbing other people's emotions? Well, I'm going to show you how to put a shield up, which is one way. But another way we pick up other people's emotions as well is through your aura. You know, this is people's auras, the colours of your chakras. This is a topic all on its own, which we will do. I talk all about just auras, which are just energy fields. I'm also going to do a topic about chakras. So you can actually do a free chakra quiz, which I'll put the link in behind. So if this person here is feeling really, really low, and you could be absorbing their emotions if you don't have any protection going up. So let's do our first volunteer. As I said, every week we're going to do 2 volunteers. We're going to do a live demonstration and how we can help reduce, eliminate, or discover what people's emotions are and why they're feeling the way they are. So Karen is our first volunteer, and Karen is from Australia. So obviously she's not here. So as mentioned, Madeleine mentioned before that energy field has no space or time. So again, going back to Wi-Fi, we have a supersonic Wi-Fi reach that goes around the earth and beyond. So Karen's not here. I think it's 7 hours in front of us is Australia. And she said that she suffers with migraines. Now, she's had these migraines since she was about 16 or 17 years old, but when she gets them, she's saying it can be a 7 out of 10.
Okay. So Vic works very simply in kinesiology, I suppose a lot of you may have heard of that. It's muscle testing, simply. And she tests, as you can see, by doing the loop method, which is basically finger out. And if she's asking for it to, if it's a yes, and it comes off quite easily, that's fine. If it's a no, it'll hold and she won't be able to move that. So you can see her doing that all the time. So kinesiology is very old, again, one of the older methodologies of healing. It can find out all sorts of things about you, because what she's doing is not talking to Karen's conscious mind, which is only 10% of your intelligence. Bit like an iceberg. The top bit is your mind, your consciousness, and the rest is your subconscious, which is like I always call it your database. Database unit. It holds every single thing that you've ever smelt, felt, heard, seen. It has no differentiation between actual life experiences, or whether it's a TV or a book or cinema or whatever, or a story somebody's told you. So there's so much information there, it's unbelievable. And obviously the older you get, the more there is. So she's talking that subconscious mind through the energy fields, which sounds a bit crazy, but believe me, it works time and time again. And the beauty these days, and that's why I love the quantum field, the quantum science and everything so much, is that now there's proof that this is all happening.
So with Karen, the first thing that came up was a heart wall. So there's a heart wall emotion. Jessica had this last week, and ironically, we're going to be talking about what is a heart wall next week. You know, when you have a heart wall's just there. That's your heart wall. But there we go. Inside your heart wall, we have emotions throughout our lifetime. The older we become, the bigger the heart wall can happen as well. Now, what happened is when Karen was 7 years old, she had a shared heart wall of emotions with her mum. That's what happened. Now, this seems to be a bit of a common age when people have absorbed emotions or shared emotions. Now, a shared emotion is different to an absorbed emotion. Absorbed emotion means I have no protection, so I'm taking your emotions and giving them to myself. A shared emotion could be that we both shared an experience. So, for example, big loud noise or an incident or information, we both had it at the same time. We shared that feelings. I get emotions, Madeleine can get emotions from that shared experience. So this is when Karen was 7 years old. So Karen, if you were 7 years old, think about how old your mum was. Did something happen around that time? What was shared? Did you have information? Did someone give you some bad news? Was it an accident or an injury or an illness? So what happened around that time, if you can let me know? The first emotion that came up, because there's 4 emotions, the first emotion was guilt, then grief. Now, if grief comes up, that will suggest there was a loss of something, feeling of unsupported, and anger. So there were the 4 emotions. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to use my magnets just to release that. And Madeleine explained to you a little bit about how magnets work.
Oh, sorry. We use magnets that the master of science and a medical doctor, William Powlett, studied many clients of his, if you will, about using magnets, and he reported, as so many others behind him have supported, that magnetic field magnets actually enhance the healing of your meridian lines. You heard of meridian lines? It's your body's energy fields, it's your body's energy lines. And what Vic's doing at the moment is working on the governing meridian, which is one of the major vessels, which goes from inside your lip up, right down your back, and round under your seat, as it were. And that governing line links to all the other meridians, like a major trunk road, if you will. So that magnet is enhancing the healing that's going on that line.
Okay. So we've got rid of those 4 emotions. Now, the first one was anger. Anger was the last emotion that she had. So what happened, it was information that was given to you both at the same time. So I don't know whether your mum had a phone call or someone came to the house, Karen, but as a 7-year-old child, you was there listening to what was going on. So you shared the same experience with your mum. So the first emotion that came up was guilt. That was the first emotion that came up. So guilt is perhaps feeling I've done something wrong, or feeling a little bit guilty. Perhaps we didn't spend enough time with that person, or we didn't do what we perhaps should have done. So that was the first emotion that happened, was guilt. Then after that was grief. Grief is just a loss of someone, which suggest perhaps it was somebody that passed away, or a loss of a house, or loss of something. And then the next one was feeling unsupported. So perhaps when your mum was going through that process of whatever that information was, you both felt a little bit unsupported by other people to deal with that information. Then that it turned into anger. Now I've released those emotions that was in your heart wall, Karen. So your issue was 7 out of 10 for your migraine. And now that's gone down to 4 out of 10. Now, the thing is with migraines, they're not there constantly all the time, like an emotion or shoulder pain. They come and go. So I'm in contact with Karen all the time. So I'm going to contact Karen and next time she gets a migraine, if she can level it up, how bad is it compared to previous migraines as well? So that's Karen. So absorbed emotions. So we, as mentioned, we've done over 200 clients. That's how many we've done, over 200 clients. And some clients have absorbed emotions in different ways. Some clients have absorbed emotions by watching TV. There's one client that was watching the news and all of a sudden she felt really low and she couldn't shake it off. It's because she absorbed emotions of how probably those people were feeling while she was watching them.
She had nightmares.
Yeah. Also listen to your friends' issues. Again, if you're hypersensitive and you have no protection with your field and you're the to-go person that all your friends ring when they've got issues and you're always listening to them, how are you getting on with that information that's coming to you? Are you protecting yourself? Walk into supermarkets. I mean, it can be a little bit daunting at the moment, but just even to walk into supermarkets, you could be absorbing people's emotions. Even if you're in a car and a car passes you, you can absorb those emotions. Or family as well, like what we just mentioned with Karen. Majority of the time people tend to, and family members, when you're about 7 years old, because we are at 7 years old, very, very hypersensitive, we could be picking up all these emotions as well. Okay, so I'm just going to do Prudence. Now, Prudence is in America. So again, same thing that applies with distant healing. Energy has no time and space, so we can heal people wherever they may be. Now, Prudence issue is at the moment, she's having a bit of a tough spell within her relationship. She's saying it's a 10 out of 10. She's feeling very angry towards her husband, a little bit of hatred, and it's triggering her PTSD. But the thing is, she doesn't know why she's feeling this way. So let's have a look. I'm going to have a look at Prudence, and whilst I'm doing that, Madeleine can just be explaining, what I always do. I ask for a little bit of help from the higher power before we start.
It's always good to have help from the higher powers. It's basically whoever you turn to in time of need. It's just asking the energies to focus on you a little while. Just wanted to go on about that, the magnetic healing that she does, the reason she uses that down the governing meridian. As I mentioned, that the science behind it proves that magnets enhance the healing in the body, such as bones. You get a broken bone. If you use an electromagnetic cushion, electromagnetic machine, it helps 20-30% faster healing of the bone. With the magnetic fields, if you can imagine, it's something that we can't see. We always say if we can't see it, feel it, touch it, then it doesn't exist. But that's all behind us now, because that's not true. Just think about birds, for example. When they migrate in the winter, and hopefully they're all going to start coming back now. How do they know where they're going? And some birds travel halfway around the world to go to their summer grounds, if you will. They follow the electromagnetic fields which go around the Earth. The Earth, the planet itself, is totally wrapped around in these fields, lines going all the way around it. And they, with their pineal gland, which is in the middle there, it links to these electromagnetic fields, and that's how they know their way. That's why sometimes if there's a really bad storm, they can be thrown off. Same with whales. They can be thrown off course because it interferes with the electromagnetic guidance system, which I find is fascinating, don't you?
Okay, so for Prudence, the first thing for Prudence was, because what happens is I'm working with your subconscious mind. So if you imagine an iceberg, so the top of the iceberg is your conscious mind, which we're consciously aware of, what I look, what I do, what I'm aware of, what I'm doing. Your subconscious mind is over 90% of our intelligence. So everything you've touched, you felt, you've seen, even in this life or previous lives or inherited, it's all stored there like a computer. That's where it is. And what we do is with this information, that becomes our identity. Or we allow it to become our identity. In another session, we'll talk about beliefs. How do you change your personality? Why do you believe that you are the way that you are? And that's just through words or thoughts. So the first thing that's come up with Prudence is post-hypnotic suggestions. So remember what I said in regards to thoughts. Thoughts are very powerful. It's not the words that we use, it's the vibration that comes to the words. So what Prudence is thinking into herself all the time is, I'm never enough. So if she thinks I'm never enough, guess what's going to happen? She'll never be enough. And what she'll do is she'll look for things to validate the reason why she feels she's never enough. I don't know if you've ever bought a car or you've just bought something new. Guess what happens? All of a sudden you see them everywhere because you become constantly aware of what you want.
Yeah, I got a copper car, which I thought was really unusual, and all of a sudden they're all on the road everywhere.
Now, this post-hypnotic suggestions of I'm never enough, sometimes these aren't our emotions. You know, today's subject is absorbed emotions. But what's happened with Prudence is this feeling of I'm never enough was a prenatal emotion, which again is a topic we're going to be talking about. What is a prenatal emotion? So this is on the 3rd trimester. So when Prudence's mum was carrying Prudence, you know, when if any mothers out there that will know this, you know, your feelings will be heightened, your hormones are heightened, your rationality is all over the place. You're a bit like this. So you're more perceptible to take on emotions. So what's happened is this I'm never enough, these feelings was from her mum when Prudence was in her mum's belly on the 3rd trimester. But with that, Prudence had 3 emotions of bitterness. So hence the reason why she's probably feeling a little bit of anger towards her husband and hatred. Because remember what I said to you, if you have absorbed emotions or inherited emotions, so if you have inherited emotions, let's say your predecessor or your ancestors had a traumatic experience, that can lie dormant with you, which can cause, let's say, PTSD. And if Prudence is going through a bad time at the moment, what can happen is our dealing mechanisms, how we can cope with issues, tend to become a little bit flawed. So especially with COVID at the moment, we're having to stay with our partners inside the house. We have no escape mechanisms we can go to. We're having to really spend a lot of time with each other. And what happens is our vulnerability can come out, our emotions can come out, so we struggle to deal with each other. So this feeling of I'm never enough, if it comes with obviously fear that she's going through at the moment, that was prenated from her mum, so this bitterness that she's got, feeling unsupported and feeling a little bit humiliated, will all be vented at a partner because that's who she's with all the time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and release these and then to see what issue it's come down to.
So Prudence, she said that she had no idea why this is happening because they're normally very, very close couple. And as Vic said, we're getting so many people now who are suffering with a lot of depressive emotions because they're locked in with their families, not necessarily just the partners, but it can be anybody. So it's just a matter of, again, working on the meridian lines to get through your whole energy body, magnifying it with that magnet, the healing, and then making sure using kinesiology, making sure that it's gone.
Okay, so this feelings, Prudence, where it was in your stomach here. That's where the emotions were. So I don't know, when you have these feelings, all of a sudden you think, oh, I feel a bit sick, my stomach's turning over, because that's where the emotions were lodged. So can you just think to yourself, next time this happens and you have these feelings or emotions towards your husband, just think to yourself, well, hang on a second. These aren't my feelings. These are feelings that I've got, which was from my mother when I was in her womb, of bitterness, unsupported, and humiliation. Also this dark negative cloud of feeling I'm never enough. So next time you're in that situation, I know it's hard, but try to take a deep breath and step back and just think to yourself, hang on, the reason why this situation is happening is because of my perception of what's happening. It's my emotions that's emphasizing this argument or these feelings of hatred or anger or triggering your PTSD. It's because of what's going on. And then what we can do then is we can change our words. Because your broadcast message, because your post-hypnotic suggestions are I'm never enough, let's just try and change that next time you're in that situation to I am enough. I have everything I need. So if we do that, if we change our words, it changes our psychology, it changes our emotions, it changes our thoughts. That's what can happen. Again, remember the grey cloud, which is I'm not enough. Let's move that grey cloud and let's bring our sunny cloud is I am enough. Because what you're doing then is changing your vibration. See it as a game. That's the best thing to do. See it as a game. So next time you're in that situation and you're giving out this vibration, guess what's going to happen is you're going to have that vibration back. So if you change the way that you are on the outside, and if you change your words because of your moral control, guess what's going to happen? You're going to have a different response. Now, Prudence was a 10 out of 10. Again, I'll contact Prudence later, but that was a 10 out of 10. We've now got that down to a 6 out of 10 because it can be more manageable for Prudence as well.
We're going to be doing words, aren't we? One of our sessions.
Yeah, we've got that many topics we can talk about. I think we're going to be here with you forever and ever. Okay. Okay, so that's about shield up. So what I would like to do now is put a shield up for you. I want to show you how we can put a shield up for you. That's what I'd like to do now. As I mentioned, how do we absorb emotions? The only way we absorb emotions is if we give out that vibration. Our subconscious mind is like a beacon. Beep, 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 beep. So it's looking for all those people that have that emotion that you have, so then you're going to be absorbing it. Well, you'll never not have emotions. We're always going to have emotions. You'll never not have emotions. You'll always have that dark cloud or that sunny cloud. But what we try to aim for is have more of the sunny cloud than the dark cloud. That's what we're trying to aim for to help you. So what we're doing is when you're having this beacon, beep, 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 looking for the same vibration that you're putting out, how do we protect ourselves from absorbing those emotions? One way is putting the shield up, which I'm going to go through with you. Okay. So I'm going to go through this with you. It's going to take me about a minute, and I'm going to show you through words how to put a shield up. Now, when we do this, people feel different ways. Some people feel nothing. Some people feel that they see colours. Majority of the time, people tend to see colours. Now, remember, colours are just vibrations of emotions. So if you try this, comment below what colours you've seen, and we'll contact you and let you know what that means, because different colours mean different things. Excuse me. Okay, so when we put a shield up, what we do is when we have a client, I always muscle test to see what percentage is that shield up. Is it 0 or is it 100%? Now, even though we have a shield up, sometimes that shield can be damaged in any way if we allow that to happen. So let me just go through that with you and how to put a shield up. So you're more than welcome to join me. So what I ask is this: just get yourself comfortable. If you're sitting, get yourself comfortable in a seating position. If you're led down, get yourself comfortable when you're led down, or wherever you are, to stop what you're doing. Take time out for yourself to sit in silence. So some breaths in and breathe out. And become aware of your breath in and your breath out. And now what I'd like you to do is ask for a shield to be placed and protect you, all your loved ones, and all your all your possessions. So ask for the shield to come up to protect you, all your loved ones, and all your possessions. And this shield can be whatever colour, shape, or size you want this shield to be. And what you want to do is you want to say this shield is to protect me from any negative emotions, vibrations, or feelings coming through. However, it will allow all positive emotions, vibrations, and frequency to come through. And this is your shield, and it will never run out of energy. And to get the shield up, all you need to ask is shield up, and it'll be there to protect you. And then whenever you're ready, open your eyes. Okay, how did you get on with that? Did you manage to put the shield up to protect yourself, your loved ones, and your possessions? What shape, colour, or size did you see? We recommend do that every day. You will feel it when it's ready. to such point, what you're doing is you're reprogramming your software in your brain. You're telling your brain and your neural connections, I want this shield to come up. So it's association. So when you just say shield up, your body will know, or your energy field will know to put it up. Because remember, there's two parts of you. That's your human side, your body, and that's your energy field. And what happens is, if our energy field and our body is not protected and there's no protection between, that's how we absorb. And if you've got a disconnection going on with your energy field and your human body, that's when you can start to have emotions that become trapped as well. Okay, so just a quick summary of what we've done today. So as I mentioned, we are very honoured to serve you every Monday. The best thing we can ever give you is our time, which is free. The topic this week was all about how do we absorb emotions. You know, if you feel extra sensitive, hypersensitive, if you always feel like you have an urge to help somebody, or sometimes you just feel like you've just walked into a fog of emotions, perhaps you are absorbing other people's emotions. You know, 90% of the pain that we suffer, or the mental pain we suffer, starts with thoughts alone. So when you're thinking about your own emotions and you're absorbing other people's emotions, it's called layering. You know, remember the dark cloud and the sunny cloud? Take time out in your day. If not now, why not do it after watching this show? Take time out to think to yourself, okay, what are my emotions? Why am I feeling this way? Is it mine? Where did it come from? And then when you think about it, think about the words that you use with that emotion and change them. You know, what is the story you're telling to people? What is the story you're saying to yourself? Madeleine spoke about the science behind it. And then we had our first volunteer, which was Karen. And Karen was a 7 out of 10 with the migraines, which was, she shared it with her mum, and that's now down to a 4 out of 10. Then we talked about, you know, you can have absorbed emotions by just even watching the TV. Then we had Prudence, which was a 10 out of 10, that she's feeling a bit angry to her partner at the moment because she's saying, I'm never enough. So that's now down to a 6 out of 10 because it was prenatal when she was in mum's belly. So it's all about changing the words. And then we put an energy field up for you. So what are we going to talk about next week? We are going to talk about heart wall. So do you feel you struggle with love, receiving love, accepting love, giving love? Do you struggle with relationships? Are you always having the same problems with your relationship? Do you feel like you're plodding in mud and you're stuck a little bit in life? Well, that's what probably we need to talk to you about. It was about heart wall. What is a heart wall? So if you'd like to take the chakra quiz, when we finish here, I'll put it in comments, how to access a chakra quiz. Remember the 7 main chakras. By doing the quiz, what you'll do is you'll receive 4 quick and easy steps on how to balance that said chakra. Also, if you'd like to have a one-to-one session, we've put together a taster session for you. You'll have a meditation with Madeleine afterwards. So if you feel a little bit stuck or you feel like you need help because your emotions are holding you back in life, then have a go at the taster session. I'll put the link below how to book it. But as always, we're honoured to be here to help you, serve you, and we look forward to seeing you.
Absolutely. Next week.
Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.